I'm very happy here to present here to you today the Bioschool exhibition that you've probably all noticed when entering this space through the pedestrian tunnel next to this building. And I guess the importance of the Bioschool exhibition in the Tallinn Architecture Biennale context is that it offers the invited architecture schools and design studios an opportunity to present their exploration into architecture and urban design, and it adds an academic layer to the Tallinn Architecture Biennale core program by including these academic institutions in various parts of the world, and then thus also presenting research from bachelor, master, PhD level, almost on equal grounds. And I'm very happy that this exhibition has been complemented on both days of the symposium by panel discussions taking place in the morning. It's been a very generous group of people that have contributed to the exhibition and have been really open about sharing their ideas about where architectural education is headed towards. While the Bio-Tallinn theme of Tallinn Architecture Biennale this year explores the city as a territory in self-organization and co-evolution of multiple dynamic systems, including ecological, infrastructure, and technological, social, and political, some of the Bioschool exhibition participants have been very successful in picking up this theme and showing how they are using biotech tools and biocomputing as a way to guide city development. Specific design practice research case studies are presented as eco-machines. That has been discussed here in the symposium heavily, and what we also see in the curator exhibition opened last night. Thus, we are linking really different fields of design with this variety, a really rich, diverse multiplicity of other disciplines. Yet, on another note, the Bioschool exhibition is not entirely tied to this overall Tallinn Architecture Biennale topic, but what we aim to do is to open up a much broader scope of relevant themes and issues and challenges that are relevant to the current state of architecture education in the world. And in essence, so you shouldn't go to look at this exhibition as an extension of the theme of the Biennale, but rather as a display of a variety of ways we teach architecture in Estonia, in Europe, in the world. And I have to tell you from the technical background a little bit that it wasn't an open call for all institutions teaching architecture or researching architecture to offer their contribution, but actually it was handpicked selection of architecture schools and the institutions that we thought are doing something very, very interesting. Thus, it's a subjective selection of 16 schools from 11 countries, evidencing a rather broad spectrum of ways and tools deployed in teaching architecture in a contemporary context. And what I hope this exhibition does is that it helps high school graduates or young people who are looking to pursue their education in architecture and urban design to come and look at this exhibition with a view that, okay, if I want to be a designer of environments, then where should I go study? And then what does this kind of education offer? And on the other hand, if you're an entrepreneur, you could come and take a look at the research done at architecture schools, which in my opinion offer very rich potential for implementation and for this cross-disciplinary collaboration. Thus, this exhibition will stay open for some time, and I will briefly go through the schools that we have here, exhibiting their certain specific studios. I specifically want to thank Merilin Kaup, who's an architecture student at the Estonian Academy of Arts, who has done an immense job in putting this exhibition together. And to start with, that the same school where I am active and where Merilin studies, Estonian Academy of Arts, is a public university in Estonia, providing higher education in a combo of fine arts, design, architecture, visual culture, and conservation. And the Faculty of Architecture at this university really has built up into a competence center of architectural education in the entire sector of architectural disciplines, as it has this obligation to teach all these different architectural disciplines in the whole field. And the main advantage of the faculty over large universities lies in small size of study groups and individual supervision by top specialists throughout the study program. At the exhibition, we see works from the 3D Lab Master Studio, as well as from Master Studio led by Andres Alver and Indrek Rünkla, and as well as Biocomputation and Urban Protocols in Tallinn. That's the title of an intensive course led by Claudia Basquero with Alice Booli and Piibe Piirma. In Estonia, we have altogether 3 schools of architecture. The second one I'm presenting here is the Tallinn University of Applied Sciences, and it offers professional higher education in the fields of engineering, production, technology, architecture, and construction. The study process itself includes both theoretical background and practical skills, practical trainings, workshops, engineering practice in a team-building fashion. And the Master Studio entitles students to pick their own theme of research, which has to be socially aware and characterize the students' focus of interest while interacting with the processes taking place in contemporary architecture and urban planning. Now, interestingly enough, we also have here the Tallinn University of Technology, presented with 2 programs. One is in architecture and urban studies. It's offered by an institute that's young and vigorous, operating in the dignified limestone building here in the city center. And in addition to architectural skills, engineering, contemporary architectural theories, art and architecture history, drawing, painting, and composition are taught. All of which serve the same purpose, to teach the perception and ability to create space in modern environment. And the Master Studio focuses on energy efficiency and environmental awareness, testing the possibility of ecological lifestyle in Tallinn's urban environment, and exploring the strategies for the rehabilitation of abandoned industrial sites. We have also the landscape program presented at the exhibition, where they focus on 3 central areas of knowledge for landscape architects: design, the landscape and its components and technical skills, And the 5-year study consists of 10 large professional projects that are led by interdisciplinary teams to provide students with comprehension of the importance of cross-sectoral collaboration. And it's quite significant how they work, as different landscapes certainly require different approaches. And thus, they aim to give new tools for each project to the students for a better understanding of landscapes. What is also presented here at the exhibition is a living architecture workshop that happened in collaboration with professors Rachel Armstrong and Rolf Hughes, who are here from Newcastle University, which I think is a wonderful collaboration. I'm very happy that that took place. That workshop applied techniques drawn from experimental architecture, a practice that generates design methods, experiments, and visionary prototypes. So they also set out to develop prototypes for an alternative unit of design that addresses the challenges of the 21st century. The participants were asked to visit a range of curated sites to complete exercises in observation, storytelling, and attentiveness, gathering materials that would be assembled in the studio to form a living brick. Next, I will talk about the Vilnius Academy of Arts, which is the oldest art university in the Baltic states, established in 1793. Today it has over 1,800 students and a wide collection of art study programs varying from painting to culture management and culture politics. And there are about 140 students in the architecture department, bachelor and master programs. And they offered an aggregation and graph-based modeling workshop outcomes to this exhibition. Very happy that also Politecnico di Milano took part in the exhibition, as also their programs are focused on synthesis of multiple knowledge, setting the founding principles of polytechnic education, which hopes to mix the best of humanities and the arts with technical sciences, and to combine traditions with experimentation and innovation. They offered projects such as refurbishment of Burgo paper factory. As I learned, it worked on a building done by Pierluigi Nervi and is enlisted as a 20th century heritage building. And the second project, Field of Science, transformed industrial ruins of former mining landscape in rather interesting ways. So I'm very brief about the project, because there is an exhibition next door and you can all go and actually look at the images and read about them. Interestingly enough, there is such a thing as a Tourenscape Academy, and it's founded in 2015, it's supposed to be the first independent academy dedicated to post-professional design education of the built, lived, and natural environment in China. The academy aims to explore diverse means with which to implement ecological approaches to urbanization in the 21st century. And it's based in Beijing. Its new residential campus is located in a heritage village situated nearby Huangshan Mountains. And the academy's independence, small size, and unique ecological context create quite an unprecedented setting for addressing the challenges facing China, but also the world. And they offered outcomes of GIS design workshop, Digital Ruralism, asking what if the future world would depend on the rural context and not the current models of growth dictated by rapid urbanization processes. We also have in the exhibition the School of Architecture from the Aristotle University of Thessaloniki. And we all remember the quote from Aristotle that whole is greater than the sum of parts, which I think is very, very true about when we think about architectural education in Europe and in the world today. This university is the largest university in Greece, and the architecture school is focused on creating a profile of an architect capable of coping with all scales of space, its design and redesign. I think this is a very, very ambitious aspiration, as we've also been speaking about transscalar agenda in architecture today and in architectural education. So what they offer in their program is education on a variety of scales, from object and interior design to building and urban design, conservation and restoration, landscape design, urban and regional planning. And I think it really resembles the scope of activities that we are focusing on at the Estonian Academy of Arts. And the projects in the exhibition are especially investigations on one hand, and design project NIMFI. So both of those are experimental design studios and connect architectural design with innovation in an interesting way. Then we have African Fabric School, and that, on the other hand, is the first school of urban ecology, self-construction and digital fabrication in Africa, started as a social innovation and non-profit initiative promoted by Urban Fab Lab. The program is developed by Paolo Cascone and is developed on the idea of bridging the African and the European knowledges through community-oriented projects and applied research. And they are interested in exploring the interaction between African material systems and computer-aided manufacturing technologies, developing performative prototypes through an advanced craftsmanship approach for sustainable living. And Urban Fab Lab is a cultural association, on the other hand, as well as a lab of ecological design and digital fabrication, an architectural firm and a design research laboratory co-design lab for performative architecture and smart construction. And in this exhibition, they focus on Marrakesh session, as they call it. It's the first workshop that focused on the topic of open technology for creative talents and artisans, asking how to make your low-cost 3D printer and combining the local technical knowledge with experimentation of a computer-aided manufacturing machine. But now, Vienna. University of Applied Arts in Vienna, Institute of Architecture, has deans Hani Rashid and Klaus Bollinger, teaching architecture as an all-inclusive thought process that puts the future architect in the position to define architecture as a three-dimensional expression of culture. The three design studios by Kazuya Sejima, Greg Lin, and Hani Rashid work closely together with specialists in the departments of structural design, energy design, theory, and others. So here we have in the exhibition energy design, adaptive strategies, a studio that aims to integrate change and thus the dimension of time into architectural design. Then there is Biomachine, which is an investigation on the possibilities of using clean energies in the future of urban scenarios. Flak Turm farming, a vertical extension of the Vienna Flight Defense Tower. and Creep Master. That's responding to extreme condition of the Arctic environment, such as the moving waters of permafrost, the kinematic scientific station, pursuing the goal of scientists investigating the great wonder of magnetic fields and polar shifts. And of course, we have the Institute for Advanced Architecture of Catalonia, a very interesting center for research, education, production, and outreach, with the mission of envisioning and building a future habitat. IAC adheres to the principles of digital revolution at all levels. This is what they claim, and I think it's again very, very ambitious. And I'm really curious where it's all going. From bits to geography, from microcontrollers to cities, from materials to the territory, to meet the challenges that we are all facing. So they offer a program of Mastery in Advanced Architecture, MAA. Indeed, it is a very innovative program that brings together students and faculty from different disciplines towards the creation of a network hub dedicated to research for the habitability of the 21st century. And as an example of the kinds of projects that emerge from their school, they've offered these projects such as responsive manifolds, which are clay casts able to sense environment through their microbiome. Then there is encrypted biometrics, Cibeco, project on cybernetic ecology, and Hybritat, which then elaborates on a new human habitat, which is a hybrid of city and nature. We also have in the pool Innsbruck, University of Innsbruck, where the Faculty of Architecture offers dynamic environment for learning and research with a strong focus on computational design, one-to-one construction in design-build studios, architecture theory, urban and landscape design, and fabrication technologies. Its transdisciplinary ties to other departments are enhanced through the university's research platforms on resource management, sustainability, technological innovation, and the Alps as landscape, productive and cultural space. Here on the panels in the tunnel, we see projects by Rex Lab, which is the Institute for Experimental Architecture, headed by Professor Marjan Colletti, as part of Faculty of Architecture at the University of Innsbruck. And since the creation of the lab, robotic fabrication methodologies have set various pivotal research trajectories for the Institute that we see evident, for instance, in the piece that they did with the students for designer Iris van Herpen's fashion show titled Quaqua Versal. Then there's another project titled Tidal Dynamics, and it works on proto-design for the German Wadden Sea. Also, there is a project titled Fragile 3, Coralloid Cocoons, which explores the synthesis of agile robotic fabrication methods with fragile materiality. We have, among the presented schools, the Royal Danish Academy of Fine Arts, Center for Information Technology and Architecture, which educates architects who are, in their view, most sought after in the world. The fundamental philosophy of the program is that architecture is not simply about design, but is a special form of reflection and practice, which can change the world and our perception of reality. And CETA, research-based teaching is a master program that focuses on examining architectural issues through critically situating digital technologies in the processes of thinking, forming, and producing architecture. The CTS Studio, Computation in Architecture, aims to understand information technology as a driver of fundamental shift in architecture's representational and conceptual traditions. And the projects they present are BeLife, Solid Masonry, and Tangled, which works on textile logics in a 3D printed multi-performance building skin. We have also the University of Stuttgart presenting their pavilion. And this is one of the leading technically oriented universities in Germany, and I would say with global significance indeed. It sees itself as a center of university-based, non-university, and industrial research. The Stuttgart Way means an interdisciplinary integration of engineering, natural sciences, humanities, and social sciences based on fundamentals of cutting-edge research at a disciplinary level. And the Master of Science program, Integrative Technologies and Architecture Design Research, ITEC, is a multidisciplinary, research-oriented, experiment-based program shaped around contemporary aspects of the built environment and practice. And the pavilion they present is exploring building-scale fabrication of glass and carbon fiber reinforced composites. The novel process is based on the unique affordances and characteristics of fiber construction because these materials are lightweight and have high tensile strength. A radically different approach to fabrication became possible, combining low payload yet long-range machines such as unmanned aerial vehicles with strong, precise yet limited reach industrial robots. And the project was designed and fabricated by students and researchers within an interdisciplinary team of architects, engineers, and biologists. We also have Bartlett School of Architecture, which is an internationally renowned for award-winning innovative research and teaching. They offer an advanced design postgraduate program directed by Frederic Miguerou and Deputy Director Andrew Porter. The Urban Morphogenesis Lab, RSC 16, works at the convergence of disciplines such as biology, computation, and urban design. And here, what you see in the exhibition is a studio outcome titled Polycephalum City, speculating on the future of a set of urban territories located politically on the borders of Europe and ecologically at the intersection of natural and artificial landscapes. And Tallinn is included here, London also will change. Then we have Newcastle University, School of Architecture, Planning and Landscape, presented. Their teaching focuses on developing professionals who can contribute to making places and buildings that enrich our society. For instance, their research is ranked 4th in the UK for its intensity and power by the most recent Research Excellence Framework. And I think this is interesting since we have been discussing these different ranking systems and the frameworks within which we are proving ourselves as architecture schools to be doing valid research. Well, it's another question: what is valid and what is research in architecture? But back to the exhibition, they present the experimental architecture studio, focused on challenging existing design tropes, such as the use of inert building materials. And new opportunities like the use of living fabrics and technologies are explored by developing prototypes for original building proposals. And then there is the bioanalog, a story of Venice, a project that challenges architectural conservation practices, giving an example of Venice, where the rise in sea levels has resulted in destructive processes. Yet industrial age methods of conservation include the use of waterproof plastic components that in the long run accelerate the rates of decay. And by exploring the material properties of living systems such as algae sponges, bacteria, biocrates, and calciferous shellfish, alongside chemical processes, natural forms of generic matter and waterproofing prelude a new era for environmental conservation for the city. So this could result in a cybernetic responsive scaffolding against the material decay in the city. We have Waterloo, University of Waterloo and School of School of Architecture presented in the exhibition, where the professors, students have made the school a dynamic center of research and teaching in the fields of construction development, built heritage, green architecture, visualization, prototyping, and computer-assisted design. And they offer a project by Living Architecture Systems Group, and this group is focused on developing innovative technologies, new critical aesthetics, and integrative design methods to equip a new generation of designers with critical next generation skills and perspectives. So a big thanks to all the schools and their representatives again for offering their research and also being part of the panel discussions here. Because why does it all matter? We all know the famous quote by Winston Churchill that we shape our buildings, thereafter they shape us. Yet the living environment around us presents a far more complex system than a collection of individual buildings. And back to the Aristotle and the whole being greater than the sum of its parts. I think the challenge to understand the contemporary urban ecology and to learn how to operate and improve it, we need rather knowledgeable and intelligent architects and designers who are able to deal with such complexities. That is why the kind of education we offer at our architecture schools shapes the future architects and urban designers, who then in turn shape our living environment that thereafter shapes us as a society. And altogether, I think both discussions yesterday and today that we had here on this stage touched on challenges we are facing when embracing new technologies, bringing about a cross-disciplinary dimension in architecture education. I think it was a wonderful elaboration on implementation of technologies and techniques in architecture, interrogating the potential of creative practice research, and also elaborating on active engagement of schools in creative practice research, merging the academia and the industry. Coming back to what we discussed yesterday about creative practice research, being understood in three ways: as a reflection in or into, for or through practice, where we tend to do all three at the same time, as was pointed out by Martin Melioransky, that we cannot really distinguish, in actual practice we cannot really distinguish between the three. Technology is the answer, but what was the question? Asked Cedric Price in 1966. And here I'm grateful for Christina Schinneger from Innsbruck University bringing up this topic of creating a new kind of literacy, and asking our architects, those really dumb users of tools and data, as Mario Carpo could be provocatively suggesting, or should the education we offer at architecture schools have a more critical agenda, namely enable students to understand data and tools in depth. So thank you, Christina, for this question. Because a too technical education could miss the focus and forget about design also being about not only urban but social, environmental issues in its entirety, as has been pointed out by Rachel Armstrong here today as well. I quite enjoyed Rolf Hughes quoting Gregory Bateson, that you are not speaking from where I'm listening. And I think the future society that we are training architects and designers for is a different place from where we are speaking, but we need to understand what the differences are. Other keywords or these remarks that popped up in the air during the panel discussions were, for instance, that we need to rethink politics, and that what is the actual ethical realm we are facing versus the moral code. For instance, the neoliberal moralism controlling our spatial intelligence. And how about distancing ourselves from this rather anthropocentric idea or view of what is intelligence, and especially spatial intelligence these days. I like the remarks on disembodied intelligence that were talked about here on this stage today, that we're actually dealing with quite many types of intelligence. And that we should really critically look at our cultural biases to observe what we experiment with, and be aware of the ethics of the decisions we are making. So critical thinking, I think that's a common thin red line crossing all the schools of architecture that are presenting their works here in the exhibition. But at the same time, this critical thinking is backed up by play, by experimentation, by prototyping, bringing up issues of transcalarity, and really training these young people to imagine a future. And this was brought up also by Martin Melioransky yesterday, that how do we train a capacity to imagine future scenarios? How do we train these people for scenario building, for storytelling? How do we actually get those T-shaped students out of those schools that Rolf Hughes was bringing up, this this rather nice diagram of what we are looking at. Certainly we are dealing with shared authorship, and I think this kind of collective intelligence is what has gathered us here today, and what is carrying us to tomorrow, into tomorrow. But I would like to end this presentation, as I understand I'm the only thing keeping between here and the lunch, and keeping you from lunch, that I would like to end with a question that Christina Schinneger posed yesterday in the panel discussion, asking that why are we always pushing for something innovative? Why can't we just stay still and exploit what we've achieved? I think this is a good question to end with. So thank you.